Well, all great angling adventures have to start somewhere, and believe it or not, this one started in a bar. But what began as idle barroom chat has now become reality. And me and Mick here are going to find out whether we've bitten off more than we can chew with our latest harebrained scheme. It's going to see us travelling all over the United Kingdom and, of course, to Ireland, which is why we're on this ferry. Straighten up, left hand down. Well, this is it, the great rod race is on, and we've got something like 30 days to whiz around Britain and Ireland to catch 30-odd species of fish, the freshwater fish that you'll find in both countries. And to help me on my quest, my old mate Mick Brown.
Thanks, mate.
There you go, Mick, that's pretty heavy. And you might be wondering where we are. Well, we've decided to start our journey as far west as we possibly can. We've come here to the town of Oughterard, which is over on the western shore of Lough Corrib. Now, Corrib, and it's here in front of me now, is just a vast inland sea. 44,000 acres of water. And you might be wondering, well, what are we doing here? And I think we're both wondering that actually, Mick, but the reason that we've come here is because this lake contains a lot of trout, and that is the first species on our hit list that's going to take us all over the UK. Now, there are about 4 species of trout in Lough Corrib, or to be more correct, there's 1 species and 4 separate strains of it. Salmo trutta, which is the brown trout, our target. Salmo ferox, which is a variant of the brown trout, a big cannibal trout, which if we were really lucky we might contact. And then a couple of other variants called the sonahan and the dollahan. It's a lake full of fish, but it's a big old piece of water, all right, that's for sure. Straight back, Meg. OK, Mick.
All clear.
Now, we're going to be on the road for about the best part of a month pursuing all the different types of fish that we've got to catch, and we thought we'd better bring all of our kit with us, and that's why we have this van custom built just for the job. And as you can see, it's a real Aladdin's cave of fishing tackle. We've got lots of bait, of course, everything from brown crumb ground bait through to carp ground baits, pellets. We've got pellets over here, we've got more pellets underneath me, flavours, sweet corn, luncheon meat, hemp. We've got all sorts of baits in this van. Nice little area over here just for working on lures. I've put a few lures out just to brighten the place up a little bit to show you around. And then at the back, we've got chairs and bed chairs here. We've got nets, obviously. Interesting system for the rods. We've actually got these in racks made up so that we can literally grab a rod at a moment's notice. Look at this, we've even got a portable fly tying kit in case we want to make up a fly on the hoof. We've got loads of flies with us, but using this clever bit of kit, we can make one as we go along if we find a specific pattern we need for a particular area. More rod storage over here. And of course, as you'd expect, in all of these drawers, there's loads of kit. We've got spare lines. I've got braids down here. We've got big drawers carrying tackle boxes and lures. This is Brownie's side. Let's have a look in it. Oh my God, I think his underpants might be in that one. I'll just close that one up there. This is a bit more interesting. We've got Brownie's reels over here in this particular drawer. So all in all, what we've got here is a real mobile fishing wagon, and hopefully we've thought of everything that we need to catch every species of fish you're going to find in freshwater in the UK. Now, you might be wondering why we've come all the way over here to start the first leg of our journey. Well, the answer is that this place, Lough Corrib, is one of the meccas for trout fishing, and it's the brown trout, Salmo trutta, that's #1 on our hit list. So what we've decided to do, because it's fairly calm and sunny today, which is pretty unusual on the Corrib, I've got to tell you, is we're going to start off by doing some trolling for the big trout with dead baits. Now, it may or may not work, but at least we've got some sort of safety valve in as much that if the weather conditions improve for fly fishing, we'll revert to fly fishing for the ordinary brown trout later. But the clock's ticking, so we really need to just complete tying these rigs and get on with it. Right, well, I've got a roach out behind the boat now, about 30 feet. It's roach that we're trolling here. Now Mick's going to put it in the downrigger and he'll explain to you, hopefully, how we go about doing it.
Well, that roach at the moment is running quite shallow, but we want to get it down quite a way. What we're going to do is take it down on this heavy weight on the downrigger system. First thing I've got to do is to put the line in what we call a stacker clip. Now, this is a release mechanism. You can vary the tension on the mechanism to grip the line, and when the ferox grabs the bait, it's going to pull the line out of that mechanism and then we can play the fish. But for now, it's going to be attached to this very heavy weight. But basically, all we're going to do is lower the weight down with the line attached. Well, the winch is locked at the moment. The ball is just under the surface, but there's a clutch mechanism on the side. And if I carefully turn the handle backwards, it'll release the clutch, and as you can see, the winch is now lowering the cable. And can you see this counter here? This is telling me how far down I've taken the ball. I'm going to keep taking it down. I think we'll start running at about 20 feet. I wind the handle forward and that locks the mechanism. Of course, we've got to get the rod in position, ready to strike the fish. So if Matt will just pass me the rod over. Quite simple, really. It just fits into the rod holder behind the winch mechanism, and I've just got to take up the slack line until we've got a tight line down to the ball. I'm going to get a slight bend in the rod, so when the trout grabs that bait, it's going to pull the line out of the stacker clip. The bend in the rod is suddenly going to spring upwards, and that's going to help to strike into the fish. One thing I must do, though, is just set the tension on the clutch here, because if a trout takes this, it's going to go out with a bang, and if we haven't got something that gives a little, the whole lot's going overboard. That's the theory. Let's see if it works.
So while Mick's watching the downrigger system, I'm actually driving the boat. It's a two-man operation, this. If we run into shallow water, Mick's job really is to get those downrigger balls up quickly and get the baits clear of the bottom. My job's to try and keep the boat in the right depth of water, running at the right speed. Now, to help me do it, I've got some fairly sophisticated equipment. What I've got is an echo sounder and GPS system rolled into one. So by watching this screen and obviously looking ahead, I can control not only the direction of the boat, but also the speed that we're running at, the depth of water that we're running over, and I've got lots of information to hand. This big black ball is actually a shoal of prey fish. Any predatory fish in the area is going to be aware of that ball of fish. That's food. So I'm going to drive the boat, try and keep the boat ticking over on a nice, steady trolling speed for these dead baits, and Mick's going to run the downrigger system at the back. See this cluster down here? And those little balls of bait fish often attract a big predator. This is a good area. We might get a hit here. There's another trout just hit the surface out there,
yeah,
Mick.
I saw it, mate. I saw it.
Yeehaw!
I'm not going to lift that yet.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Hang on, let me get the net, mate, in case it's a ferox.
Pike.
No. It's not a... Oh, no.
But it's a fish. Well, we just changed over to trolling with a spoon because we weren't happy that the roach we were using were the right size. But we had a hit straight away off one of these Corrib pike.
Well, you can't be disappointed with that, can you?
No, absolutely not.
Shall I lift it out?
Here she comes, baby. Yes, sirree. Bit of that. Here she's coming again.
Hey.
And she's off.
God.
Touch the tail.
God, that was
Oh,
fun.
well, it wasn't a trout. I'm not sure whether we can count that pike or not, but...
They all count. Well, I'd only just put that out, set it to about 15 feet, and
bang.
I was setting up the other rod, and woof, it was off.
Mr. Spoon,
Yeah.
I spilt hot coffee all down my trouser leg.
Right, go on, get the kettle on. Let's...
All right, some nice jumps for the camera anyway.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's going on here, but the rod tip was bouncing, and I think I've got a perch or something on the end. Just, yeah, I can see the flash in the water. I've got a fish. Matt, I've got a trout for you, mate. Oh, look at that.
Well, it's a Corrib brown trout, mate.
I've done it, mate. I know it's
that.
not quite the size we expected, but...
Absolutely perfect.
yeah.
Look at the spots.
Yeah, I mean, basically, that's what we wanted to catch, but probably about 10 pounds bigger. but even so we've done it. You can't knock that, can you?
No, you can't. You can see the classic colours of the brown trout here on the Corrib. These beautiful big black spots. Some of them have got red spots too. That is the indigenous brown trout found in the British Isles, as opposed to the rainbow trout, which is the one stocked in most lakes. This is the wild fish. Well, let's just unhook this little fella. That's better.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to keep him, is it, really?
No, we'll put him back.
Yeah. Well, Matt, if you need any tips on catching brown trout, just come and see me.
Well, there you go. Technically speaking, we've succeeded in the first stage of the challenge because we've actually caught a Lough Corrib brown trout. We're wondering now what to do because the problem with this is that we've got 30-odd species of fish to catch, and the more time we spend here, the less time we've got elsewhere. But it would be nice to catch a proper one, wouldn't it, of at least a couple of pounds. So we're going to take a chance. We're going to stick around a bit longer before we move on to the next thing, but can't stay too long. Yeah, this is a really interesting area because we've just seen a trout slash at the surface, fish of about 5 or 6 pounds. It wasn't a ferox, but it was big enough for us. That was definitely a fish knocking at the bait, that.
A double tap? Like one hot, one
just
cold?
Just like dink, dink like that, and it was alive. It wasn't the bottom. I know we're on shallow water, but that was a fish. Just tap that bait then. I
You've
know
been out
wasn't.
in the sun too long, mate.
It's just a big, heavy weight here. I can't feel any real movement on the end, but the lines just come zinging out the cliff. I don't know whether we picked up a log or something.
It's one hell of a fish if it is.
Yeah, I don't think it's a fish, mate.
No.
It's the bottom, isn't it? Just pulling the boat towards it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just come off.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but it wasn't a fish. Heart was in my mouth then.
Yeah. Come on, we can't give up. We've still got an hour.
Well, we spent the best part of the day on this now, you know me.
Yeah, don't I know it?
Just do with the bite, you know.
I think I might have just lost one. I don't know about you, but I'm really tired now.
Yeah, I'm tired. Well, it's day 2 now, and we've found out about the harsh realities of taking on the Great Rod Race, because yesterday we spent all day out on Lough Corrib, and to be honest, I think we blew it really.
Yeah.
We went for the biggest fish in the lake, the ferox trout, And to be fair, Mick, we should have just tried to catch a regular brownie, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we caught a small one, and I think we fished well, to be honest, but, you know, there's time before the ferry goes to get a bigger one, maybe.
I mean, bear in mind, we've never caught or even seen a ferox trout, so we decided to spend our first day fishing for them. It's not a great idea.
No.
But anyway, it was quite interesting to see how our mood changed, wasn't it? Because we got that pike early on, and we were really up for it.
Yeah,
then we got a little brown trout. We thought, well, you know, maybe things are going to happen. But I'll tell you what, several hours later, by the time it got dark last night, and we packed the boat away in the pitch black and had dinner at midnight, we were lower than a rattlesnake's belly in a wagon rut, I'll tell you. And we've woken up today, and the weather's got even worse, as you can see. But we've got to try and retrieve this thing. We've had a good word with ourselves, and we've decided we've got to catch a regular brown trout, and we're going to go fly fishing with a local angler, the guy we're staying with actually, Jim Glynn. Now Jim's a fly fisherman, he knows the loch, and although this weather's not great for filming and stuff, it's actually not bad trout weather. And I think if we can't catch a fish with Jim, then we've had it really. Well, there's several ways to approach these Irish waters in terms of flies, but the most popular way is to use a fairly long rod. This one's actually 10 feet long. Some people use slightly longer, some slightly shorter. This is a floating line, and I've got 3 flies in this team. Some people like 4 actually, but in this sort of wind, probably 3 is a better bet for avoiding tangles and things. This is the fly on the top dropper. This is a real attractor fly called an octopus, and you can see that it's got quite a big hackle on it and a wing, and in fact this one is very bright colours, yellow and green, and that's quite important because Jim reckons that at the moment the fish are feeding on Daphnia, and they'll respond to yellow and green flies, particularly on dull days when the Daphnia, which is a tiny sort of little water flea, really microscopic in size, the huge clouds of them move up towards the surface and the trout come with them, and they'll take these brightly coloured flies. And then on the middle dropper, this fly here's a sunk daddy long legs. You can see it's got knotted legs, sparse wing, and a nice dub body. This is one of Jim's actually. He tied this one up himself. Gave me it last night. And then down on the point, the lowest fly in the team of 3, I've got a dabbler fly. This is a very traditional Irish loch fly. You can get them in different colours. They've got a kind of mallard wing and then slightly hackled body. This one's quite a dark fly, as you can see. And that's a fairly typical Irish team of 3 flies. And with any luck, even though the wind's blowing, we might even be able to fluke a trout on one of them. We'll see.
Now lads, this is a good old spot.
What we're doing is stripping wet flies quite quickly through the wave. Obviously you've got to try and bring the fly line in faster than the boat is drifting, and then right at the end of the cast on these big waters, the idea is to dibble the top fly in the wave for a second before you lift off, just in case a trout is following, and you might be able to induce him to take it.
And he's a monster.
Matt's in.
He's off.
Oh, well done that you raised one.
We were close then. That wasn't a big fish, but it was a trout. Unlucky there, Mick.
Yeah. But Jim was right, we're over the fish.
And there's one of the best fishermen on the loch.
Do you get many cormorants on here nowadays?
We do, yeah, we get a good few actually, you know. There's a couple of them floating around here. There are a lot of fish in here at the moment, because the river behind us, they run it to spawn, which means the plus side, there's a lot of fish here. The negative side is they're not as keen to take unless conditions are absolutely right.
So why is this particular spot so good, Jim?
There's a lot of fish. Oh!
Yeah, there's one. Yeah.
Woohoo! I told you.
Yes, sirree, Bob. This is a golden trout, Mick. And they really do go here on Corrib. hard fighting fish. And we're going to net this one because this is a really, really important fish for us. It's not a huge trout actually, Jim.
Yeah, he isn't actually that
but
big.
it's a nice fish.
He's all right. Nothing wrong with him. Nothing wrong with him at all. Oh, gotcha.
Hey! We've got one brownie.
Well done.
We've got a brownie. Thank you very much, sir. Brilliant, Jim.
Well done, Matt.
Unhooking. Well, they grow a lot bigger here, of course, in the Corrib, don't they?
They do, yeah.
You get some huge fish. There it is. When you look at the brown trout, you can see why they're so highly prized with that fabulous mixture of black spots. Some of them have some red spots too. Beautiful golden colours here in the Corrib. They're magnificent fish. Let's just pop that hook out, Jim.
He's like a doctor.
It's really difficult in this wave, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Fishing's difficult and hooking's difficult. Beautiful. Well, there you go. Worth its weight in gold. We're off the mark. Species number 1. I'm going to put this one back into the Corrib.
Long hours of boredom followed by seconds of excitement, you know.
Similar to being married, really.
Well, what did you think of that, Brownie?
Well, Matt, I can say with all dishonesty, I've enjoyed every second of it.
You didn't look like it, I'll tell you. But at least we've caught up a little bit of time. We managed a brown trout on what was a pretty desperate day. It's been really windy. And thankfully it's calming off now, so let's hope the old weather picks up, because to be perfectly honest, even though we have caught that brown trout, and I think we've done well to do it today, we've still lost time. So we've got some catching up to do. We'll talk about every cloud has a silver lining, and we are literally talking clouds here. This great rod race has taken a strange and curious turn. We were meant to be rud fishing today. This is possibly the worst rud fishing weather I've ever seen. But with all of this rain that we're having, all of a sudden the rivers here on the west coast of Ireland are coming up, and the salmon that have been lying dormant for a couple of weeks are starting to freshen up and they're starting to move. So instead of going rud fishing, we've driven up here to Lough Corrib in the hills. We've had a chat with Colin, who's the fishery manager at the Lough Corrib Hotel, and he reckons there's a little pool down here where we might even catch a salmon. And if we do, that puts us right back on track, and it gets us one of the most difficult to catch species in the whole challenge. So we're going to give it a go. Well, neither of us are expert fly fishermen, Mick, but I guess we've got to play to our strengths. I've done a little bit of this before, so
Yeah.
if I fish the pool, it's a one-man pool, really.
Yeah.
We'll give it a go, and then if it doesn't work, we'll maybe try further downriver.
Yeah.
The rain's great, but I wish it'd ease off a bit.
Yeah. So there's no pressure on you here, Matt?
No. Well, here we are. We're down in the pool. I've got Colin here from the Lough Corrib fishery with me. And I must admit, I am feeling a little bit nervous, Colin, because I've got the weight of this task on my shoulders now. Just tell me a little bit about the salmon fishing. I'm going to be casting across this current.
The fish are going to be lying in the fastest water here.
Yeah.
So maybe a good idea is, as you cast,
Yeah.
if you maybe bring the rod downstream
Yeah.
and pull across the stream,
Just gently drawing in the fly.
long and slow.
Yep.
The salmon like to take it when it's coming across the stream. If you're pulling the fly up over them, quite often they come up, go for the fly, and you barely lip hook them on the top or the bottom lip. You want to pull the fly across the stream, try and hook them in the scissors or in the side of the mouth. That way they won't get away.
Okay. Let's just give it a go.
Perhaps maybe if you bring the rod in a bit more towards the pier, point it downstream, you'll be able to bring the fly across the stream.
Yeah.
That's the way they like it.
Straight round like that.
Perfect.
And then
Absolutely
nice
perfect.
steady draw. Yeah.
Yeah. Big mistake a lot of people make is when they come down here, they stand up on this pier. You see, if you have a fish high up in the stream, you get up in the pier and spook him.
Yeah.
He'll turn, shoot down, and any other fish that's there get nervous and go off out into the lake as well. That wind is difficult now, Matt,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's really tough now, yeah.
Ah, it's a good all-Irish day.
It's not a good day anywhere, I'll tell you that. Where's Mick Brown when you need him? That's what I want to know. Well, the wind's increased even more now, so we've changed sides. Be easier to fish from this side. You can hear the waves crashing in.
Real salmon weather, Matt.
It's real salmon weather, all right. So now we've changed flies, Colin. What have we got on this time?
We have a tube fly on now. It's called a collie dog.
Yeah.
It's an aluminium tube, about 1 inch, and a 3-inch hair wing on it.
Certainly better for me.
Ideal for a left-handed caster.
Yeah, well, you can see the difference already.
Now, when we had to stop fishing the far side, we were only getting into the hot spot. The hot spot is just where the water breaks at the end, and the salmon usually lie there.
Now, I've got to strip this fairly quickly. Is this fast enough?
Strip it as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And if he comes to you, you have to tighten up on him immediately. It's almost like striking a salmon.
Really?
Salmon are very curious. They want to get a look at something. They take it in their mouth.
They really are creatures of instinct, aren't they?
They are.
And of course, for anyone watching at home who doesn't do any salmon fishing, they feed out at sea, but when they enter the river to spawn, they actually stop feeding, and the feeding mechanism, actually shuts down. So what you're trying to do is invoke that feeding memory and provoke the fish almost into taking the fly.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that we ever catch any on fly at all, isn't it?
It is. It's the only way to catch a salmon, to fly fish with.
Listen, mate, the way things are going at the moment, I'll settle for dynamite.
Look at that.
Now I know this is a mad place.
It's quite a bit bright now, but there's going to be a bit of cloud on its way in a second.
It's just trickling in nicely off the edge of that.
It is. And it's nice and slow there now.
Yeah.
You don't want to be retrieving too quick with that shrimp fly. Shrimp flies are always fished quite slowly.
Now, you've got a bit of a theory, Colin, about why game fish won't take in bright sunlight, haven't you?
I have. Well, I use a bit of common sense, and when you look at the fish, look at all fish, they don't have any eyelids, you see. And if they come up to the surface to take a fly, when they break the surface film in the sunshine, it blinds them.
Yeah.
It's like a flash of a camera flashing in your face. And quite often you see them actually miss the fly by, up to a foot.
Makes a lot of sense, that.
Yeah. So sometimes maybe if I'm trout fishing on Lough Corrib or stuff like that, and there's a few fish feeding or whatever, I try and get my fly as deep as possible,
Yeah.
So they won't have to get up and break the surface film. I'd say, Matt, you've done this pool pretty much.
Well, I feel I've fished a lot better down this side, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm no great salmon fisherman, but I feel I've made a reasonable job of it.
You've done okay. You haven't done anything wrong. I think what we should do is, there's another beat down the road we should try.
Yeah.
It's full of salmon.
Maybe we can get Mick fishing as well.
We'll get Mick fishing. There's plenty of water there.
Okay. Well,
Plenty
the
of
wind's
fish.
easing off a little bit. I mean,
It has. I didn't want to go down to the other beat because when the wind was so strong, you're really exposed down there.
yeah.
But now that wind has eased off a bit, there's a good chance at the other beat.
Okay.
And there's a lot of salmon there.
Well, listen, mate, if you told me that there was salmon in Kathmandu at the moment, I'd be tempted to sprout wings and fly right over there. Take me to the salmon.
We'll see them. There's a load of salmon here. They've been here all year. Fresh fish moving in all the time.
Yeah?
Can be quite frustrating because they're jumping over your fly line and everything,
This is the spot here.
Yeah. You see where it's calm there now? See where the wind at the pier has sheltered it, That's actually the best spot to take a fish. Hopefully be a few new salmon in here,
Good luck, Mick.
Oh, you fire!
You can't miss, son.
He was fresh, he was silver. Take it easy now when the squalls are out, Matt.
Here we go.
Hit him, Matt. Let him go now, let him go. That's my boy.
A bloody miracle, mate.
When
What
you
a
get him
bite.
under control now, start working your way back.
Okay, Colin. Well, that is incredible. After all that time,
Persistence.
just to feel a bite. Oh, this fish is going right for that far side. Oh, he's running right along the edge of the pier on the far side. There he goes.
Oh, yeah, boy. Let him go, let him go.
Screw.
Work your way in Vanton, Matt, all right?
Okay.
You don't want to get stuck out there in a hole.
Eyes off. Oh, God. Son of a... I don't believe it. Had it right there.
I'd better put the kettle on, I think.
Well, this is it, the last half day of our trip to Ireland. Later on this afternoon, we've got to catch a ferry, and yesterday was an absolute gutter. Remember that we've got to catch over 30 species of fish in this challenge, and that the salmon was always going to be one of the most difficult species. And then to eventually hook one after such difficult fishing conditions, facing wind, difficult back cast, wading up to your chest in water, it was a really difficult day. And then eventually a miracle took place and a salmon grabbed my fly. To play it for 5 minutes as I did and then lose it, we were just absolutely mortified. But this morning, well, it's another day, and at least the weather's more pleasant to be out in, the sun's shining. That's not necessarily, by the way, a good thing, because the salmon actually don't like to take in this bright sunlight. We're probably going to have to wait until the sun goes in behind a cloud before we cast our fly. But we're back here now with Colin. We've come back to the Derry Butts, and we're going to try for a salmon again, and I just hope to God that we can catch one, because believe me, we are falling behind already in this species hunt, and the pressure is on.
Now you're better off with that double-handed rod now here. You can cover that water you didn't cover yesterday.
To be honest, Colin, it's actually ideal, really.
They're actually easier than a single-handed
Well,
rod.
yesterday the problem was the back cast.
Oh, Matt! Don't feed him any line out now. Don't give him any slack line whatsoever.
Okay, here we go again.
Small grills.
Well, I'm really not used to these double-handed salmon rods, but
Yeah.
the move has paid off, and there's a real sense of deja vu about this now.
All right. Well, you got to cover water there now you didn't get to cover yesterday.
It's very difficult using this rod. I've never used one before, but
Okay.
I'll give you your due, Colin. It's worked.
Okay. Oh, yeah, boy.
Yeah. Nice fish. Coming right at me there.
He's been in a few weeks.
Yeah.
But he's not as...
But it's a salmon, and that's all that counts as far as I'm concerned. I hooked a fresh fish yesterday, and
Watch him now, he's going to go mad now. Watch
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Watch out. Oh, lovely fish. Lovely fish. When you hooked the one yesterday, remember all the salmon that were jumping?
yeah,
They seem to have stopped jumping. He's tiring a bit there now.
yeah, it's getting tired, but there's still a bit of fight left in the fish. Well, I've caught a few salmon in my time, and I've caught some fresh salmon, but this one, it's giving it some, I'll tell you.
Well, look at the rod, it's doubled.
Not half as much as my heart is, though, Colin.
And that's a double-handed salmon rod. Okay,
Yeah.
well, watch out now.
Yeah!
In the net.
We've got a salmon. Well done, my boy.
Goodbye, goodbye.
I have a tradition of kissing gillies, you know.
No thanks, no. You're not my type.
Well, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant.
Lovely fish. He's been in probably 6 or 8 weeks.
Yeah.
He's all right, we got him in pretty quick, you know, we didn't tire him out too much.
Basically, this is the Atlantic salmon. So its life cycle is that actually it spawns here in fresh water, and in fact these salmon have got an amazing homing mechanism built into them that they can actually return to the river that they were spawned from. So
It's like a built-in GPS.
and as young fish they go out to sea, and that's where they do their feeding, and they feed quite well out there. It might be squid or small anchovies.
They go to sea for about 14 months. They go as a 50, 60 gram smolt. They come back after 14 months, about the size of this fella. They double their weight every 30 days. Prolific feeding at sea.
Well, let's just take a quick look at it, Colin, because
Yeah.
it's been in the water.
But he's fully revived and he's ready to swim off. So we let him go.
Beautiful.
He wants to go, okay,
Bye-bye, baby.
goodbye.
Go and spawn some salmon.
Excellent! Yes, sir! Result! A result!
Wait till I tell Brownie. Nick! Well, now the race is well and truly on. We've really caught back up. We came here to Ireland, we've caught our brown trout, and then we started to struggle. But then, with Colin's help here, we got that salmon, which is just fantastic. Now, we're really going for it at the moment because in 2 hours' time, yes, 2 hours, we've got to head back to Dublin. We've got to take our vehicle across, the boat back across to England and pick the race up there. But Colin's come up with a sheer piece of inspiration. I don't know whether it's going to work or not. Right here at the Lough Hotel, in the loch itself, you'll find a species of fish called an Arctic char. It's a very rare species of fish. It's going to be very difficult to catch, and if we've got a chance to go for it, well, what the hell. We're going to troll with these high D fly lines. We're going to use a team of 3 flies, a really unorthodox technique, but, well, while your luck's going, you might as well ride it. Righto, boys. Clock's ticking. Well, this is a real first for me. I don't know about Mick, but I've never trolled with flies before. And just to recap, we're using what are called high D fly lines. These are very dense fly lines that cut down through the water and get down deep very quickly. And for the deep waters of Lough Corrib, I guess that's absolutely perfect for trolling these small flies down, hopefully where the char are living. We're going quite slowly on the engine, and we've let out all of the fly line. We're right down to the backing, with a team of 3 flies just swimming along nicely behind the boat. And Colin reckons that if we're going to get an Arctic char, and they're not a particularly big fish, I should warn you, then this is the way we're going to do it. The chars are a very curious fish, really. It's a fish that got landlocked inside the great glacial lakes during the Ice Age, and they're very rare now. There are very few waters in the United Kingdom and in Ireland that you can actually hope to catch one in. They really are restricted to those last few great glacial lakes. So if we were able to catch one, regardless of its size, that would be an enormous bonus. But I think maybe we might be expecting a little bit too much. So this huge lake, Colin, would have been scoured out by the glacier, I suppose.
Yeah.
Amazing, beautiful scenery.
I just had a bite just as the boat changed direction and sort of came round on an arc. I had a little tug.
Well, we've got about an hour left now. All we've had is a couple of little touches, but you never know.
Okay, I'm nearly in.
Yeah, he's on, Nick. He's on.
Yeah.
You got him?
Yeah, I got him.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Fish
Oh,
on.
look, he has one as well.
Double hookup.
Are you on as well?
Yeah. We've got a double hookup here, folks,
If it is a char, it's the mother and father of all char.
with literally 15 minutes to go before we have to go to the ferry. How about that? Mick's got a good fish on. I've got something much smaller.
We'll get the net for mixed fish.
This could be a char, Colin. Don't be so hasty.
Yeah, this is definitely not a char I've got on anyway.
No.
Okay, easy, 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 easy. I think it's a char. Easy. Let him down. No, it's a brown, but he was very slimlined.
Yeah.
I thought it was a char. He was so slimlined.
Wow. So near and yet so far, Col.
Better get him back and we'll see what Mick has on.
Yeah. I don't think my fish is a lot bigger, to be quite honest.
Really? Is that a char?
I don't think so. Here, have a look at what he is first. You wouldn't know what he is, you see. Just have a look now.
This could be the one, Matt. This could be the char.
No, he's a brownie.
The brownie.
Oh, Jesus, there's 2 fish on. Look, there's a brownie on the top anyway. I'll get him in. And another brownie on the tail.
There was nothing to it, folks.
It was nothing.
Nothing to it at all.
And look at the 2 different colours between the 2 brownies.
Yeah, very different,
And
aren't
they've
they?
taken different colour flies as well. So.
Lovely little
Well,
fish.
I wait all that time for a bite and I get 2 at once. And I hate to say the old thing, the old cliche, but it's like waiting for a bus, isn't it?
Another one there.
Really does look good, actually.
Here, we better put them back before they're dead.
That one's definitely going in the frying pan.
It's swum off. It's going to go. It will go.
Yeah, he's gone, he's gone. He's all right. He's all
I
right.
think if we get that one and...
Look at him there, look. He's grand.
If we get that one and hold it for a while, it should be probably...
Oh, the other one is as well.
Well, just look at this. Glorious weather, best weather of the trip, and believe it or not, this is the first day of autumn. That's Dublin, just slipping away in the background behind us there. And just to recap on my island, Mick, really, what do you think?
Well, I mean, as you know, we've had some great fun at times, haven't we? We've had some hard times as well, but, you know, we've met characters, we've learnt techniques, and but the most important thing is we've got 2 of the species we wanted, and these were 2 of the hardest, really, weren't they?
Yeah, do you think we've done as well as we could have done?
I think so, and I mean, the very fact that we took it right up to the wire to get that last... I mean, when we got that last fish, you know, the ferry was only a few hours away, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So here we are now, and we were going to go straight to Devon, but we've changed the plan. Just tell everybody at home why.
Well, the thing is, we must get a catfish. I mean, that's one of the prime fish that we really want, and as you get into September, they start to get harder to catch because temperatures are falling, and the catfish, it's a warm weather species, and it's going to start shutting down and become very difficult to catch.
Yeah.
So we've got to go for that as soon as we can.
So we're off to Scunthorpe now. A big journey up to Scunthorpe, try for a catfish while the weather holds, and then straight back down to Devon. We're going to pick up the journey there.
Yeah.
It's a real gamble, but I think if this thing's going to succeed, it will be on the basis that we've made the right tactical decisions. And you know, the odd thing is, you get up here on a day like this on the ferry and you feel really relaxed, but I know that as soon as we get in that van again, I'm going to start feeling the pressure, but for the time being, we'll have a cup of tea and chill out.
Good idea, mate.
Now, if you've been watching the Great Rod Race so far, you'll realise that catching a salmon at the 11th hour in the west coast of Ireland was a serious result. But having done that, Mick and I had to decide where we were going to go next. And the #1 species on our hit list, partly due to the time of year actually, was the catfish. Now, the catfish is very much a warm weather feeder. And remember, when we were coming back on the ferry, it was actually the first day of autumn, and we decided, rather than come straight here to Angler's Paradise in Devon, that we'd do a detour, and that's why we drove all the way from Anglesey up to Scunthorpe. So, instead of fishing for beautiful little ornamental fish like this, we actually targeted catfish. However, unfortunately, things didn't go quite as we planned them. So, do you want to see my bait, then?
Come on, then.
What do you think of that, then?
Right. Well, you've had your little joke. Now, where's your real bait?
That's great, isn't it?
an average angler might say, my goodness, that's massive, but when you think catfish, when it opens its mouth, it's as big as that bucket.
Exactly, mate.
That's going to go in without touching the sides, isn't
Give
it?
him a good chunk of mate.
Yeah.
That's what I say by us, mate.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, I reckon, is I'm going to put some pellets out on that island out there. They reckon that central area there is supposed to be quite good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the magic hour. For me, when that sun goes down, I'm thinking catfish then. You know, at the moment, we could get a lucky one, but it's most likely to come when that sun's gone down, and you know then you're on red alert.
It's a witching hour.
Yeah, it is.
Wild, salty, meaty balls. I'll put in a few of these bigger pellets as well. Bit of a scattering of these.
A lot of people must be wondering what we're doing here. Now, we're fishing for an enormous great fish, a catfish, but what is it doing in a little pond like this? Well, it's obviously not natural. They're stocked into ponds like this just to give people like myself, keen anglers, a good chance of catching one. And the only way you do it naturally is to go over to Europe where these are natural fish. Now, they grow to an enormous size in these lakes, and we just don't know what's going to take our bait, and, you know, fingers crossed we might get one of the really big ones. My feeling is that they're going to go for something natural, and what I'm doing, I'm hedging my bets really. I've got a live fish out on the one rod, and I've got a couple of dead fish out on the other two rigs. And really, it's a matter of just sitting here and just enjoying the evening then.
Just look at that sunset, Brian. Well, I suppose this is the witching hour for catfish. It's about half an hour before it gets fully dark. Both Mick and I have got our baits in position now. And in this race against time, I guess we're hoping to catch a catfish quite quickly. Normally, it's nice to sort of savour these situations and just enjoy being out and bivvying up, and it doesn't really matter if you don't catch. But the shorter time we're here, the better, really. And I guess if there's going to be a time I would expect to catch a catfish, it would be between now, really, and probably an hour after dawn. That first hour of daylight, last hour of daylight, and possibly throughout the night. But there's been no action yet, either to myself nor Mick. And the thing is with fish like this, you just never know, you know. You could be here 3 or 4 days and not catch one, and that would just be horrendous for us, really.
In the distance, I've just heard a catfish slap its tail on the water, so we've just gone through that magic hour when I expected to catch and we haven't caught. What can I put it down to? I've had somebody walk through me swim and make a noise. I've had trouble with my rigs. I've had to get them out and recast, and you know, I'm really worried this plan's starting to fall apart now.
Hello everybody, it's 5:10 in the morning, and I spent the whole night hovering over my rods waiting for something to happen, and it didn't. Mick didn't get a bite either, and now we've got to make a decision. Do we stay here or do we go? I'll have a chat with Mick, I think, in a minute. See, look at me now, making the tea, not only for Mick, for myself, but for the lads who are on the crew as well. And everybody thinks that my life's sunshine and roses. Well, I'll tell you what, it certainly isn't. And I'm also having second thoughts about catfish, because it's occurred to me that when it comes to catching them, catfish suck a big one. I can't understand why we haven't caught one. The weather's not great, but I think certainly there's plenty of catfish here, but It's just hard work at the moment and the hours are ticking by. Can really do with catching a fish. Just trying to feel for a bite. I've had a couple of knocks. I don't think it's a catfish, it's probably a tench or something messing with it, but you never know, it might just be a cat nose in the bait and a little bit wary. So I'm holding the rod, and if I feel a good pull on it, I'll let the line go. It's a little fish, Mick. Feel it plucking away at it.
Isn't it?
Oh,
It could be anything, could it, really?
Perch or...
I must have been dreaming about your snoring then, mate.
Was I really snoring?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's probably why we didn't catch any cats.
Rip Van Winkle's got nothing on you, mate. Well, this is it, Mick. Final throw of the dice. We've got John's help. John fishes here regularly. He's caught a lot of the catfish in this place, and he suggested that what we try and do is to suspend a bait on the surface. We've been fishing baits near the bottom or just off the bottom. Now, this particular rig is quite interesting because it involves the use of a vertical rod, so the rod's in like a rocket launcher. And in fact, you don't have any weights or ledges on the line or anything. And the idea is you tie that to a tree on the bank, the bait is dangling on the surface, the catfish comes up, nails the bait, breaks the weak link, and then roars off with it. We'll give this over to John. He's going to attach this to the far side for us, and let's just hope that it works. Now, this particular style of catfishing was developed initially on the continental rivers, the big wide rivers, where they tied baits off against buoys and found that catfish would literally come to the surface to nail them. So this is fairly radical stuff, but I've got to say, Mick, that desperate men need desperate measures, and boy, are we desperate.
So there's no way the fish is going to pull that over. That's absolutely solid.
No. Well, I think that's about it, Mick, isn't it?
It is for now. What are we going to do?
I don't know, really. I think we've got to go, though. I don't think there's much point in staying here.
No.
I mean, we haven't caught a catfish, and we've tried hard.
Yeah, and to be fair, nobody else has. There's other catfish anglers around the back of the island. They've not caught.
No.
It's just not going well at the moment, is it?
Why do you think we haven't caught?
Well, I mean, I think these catfish, they feed in phases, don't they? You know, and they're probably going through a resting phase at the moment. That's all, you know, apart from the fact that we're pretty useless.
Well, it does present us with a serious problem now because we've got to decide whether to come back here or go to another venue because catfish are still on the hit list. So I think we just got to wrestle with that on the road, Mick. I think we've got to go now.
Yeah.
Because the longer we stay here, the more time we're wasting when we could be doing other things. So we better hit the high notes and get on the road.
Yeah, OK. We'll decide on the way.
Well, Scunthorpe was a real disaster. It was a gamble that didn't pay off, quite frankly, and now, with us already into autumn, I'm beginning to fear that we might catch a catfish. Now, the silver lining might well be that, having been to Scunthorpe, we've driven all the way down here to Devon, to a place called Angler's Paradise. This is a fabulous place. It's one of my favourite places to go fishing. It always has been. But unfortunately, I can't enjoy it as much as I'd like because the pressure really is on now to catch a catfish. And that's why Mick and I have decided to split our efforts. So while I target some of the ornamental species of fish for which this place is famous, Mick is on the main carp lake fishing for the catfish. Now, catfish were stocked in here several years ago by the owner Zig Gregorek, and there are lots of cats here, from small baby ones all the way up to great big 30-pounders. But what you'll also find here, and what I'm fishing for, are some of the more unusual ornamental species of fish for which this place is also very famous. Now, this is a golden orf. It's a member of the eyed family. It's a beautiful fish. What a fantastic mixture of orange with beautiful fins shot through with the colour of a blood orange. Fabulous looking fish. Some of them have got black spots. They really are magnificent to look at. And there are lots of them here at Angler's Paradise. So I've already caught a golden orf, which was one of my target species. But to be honest, I really think I ought to make an effort to try and catch one of the bigger ones, because there are actually golden orph in these lakes going up towards record-breaking sizes. Now, a decent size orph is somewhere around 2 to 3 pounds in weight, but there are some orph in these lakes which run to over 8 pounds. So it's an amazing place. I must admit, though, I'd settle for a modest orph if Mick can catch that catfish. Well, this might be the great rod race, and time is, of course, of the essence, but no visit to Angler's Paradise would be complete without coming, first of all, to meet my old friend Zig Gregorek, who I haven't seen for a very, very long time, and also to come to this fantastic bar, where, incidentally, I actually won this tankard for catching one of the biggest carp in the fishery at the time, a fish which is still knocking around. So that was terrific. Great to be back. It is too long, Zig, and one of the things that I've noticed is the fantastic changes here. Perhaps the most impressive, I've got to say, as an angler, is this bar. It is amazing. I mean, where does all this stuff come from?
Well, since the last time you've started going big game fishing and won a few trophies, Marlin World Cup twice, and a few things like that, and I had nowhere to put them. I couldn't put them in the bedroom, they were too big. So I had to expend the bar to put them somewhere.
And what, well, the results are absolutely tremendous. There's some wonderful stuff in here, which is why I want a bit of the golden magic that is undoubtedly around your person to rub off, because we're on this challenge, you see. We've got to catch all these different species of fish. We need golden orph or orph. We need probably a catfish. We need a koi carp, and it would be nice to catch a golden tench, but not essential. So you know your lakes better than anyone. Which one should we go to?
I think the easiest one should be the cat. The main lake, last week or so, people catching half a dozen. If you just want a small one, should be all right.
Doesn't matter how big or small.
The specimen tension orph, that's a good one. You will be plagued by small ones. It's feeding them off, but you should do. Magic lakes, got lots of koi, and these are now up to 8 pounds or more as well. Your best chance with orph and tench will be in the one shaped like a tench, because that one was netted last year, and there shouldn't be any small ones. If they are, they've just spawned now, they're only this big, so that should be very good. And Mystery Lake, just in case, as it is a fishing race, etc., even I don't know what's in there, you can always try it, and you might catch some different species.
All right. Well, that sounds perfect. You've heard it from the man himself, and with that, it's great to see you again, but I really must get fishing.
OK.
As we haven't got much time, I'm going to put on some dog food, which Zig recommends. He tells me the cats have been caught on it here quite regularly, so... Well, I'm not really sure whether this is going to work. The bait is very, very soft and it might fly off the hook, but it's only a short cast, so I'm prepared to make a fool of myself. Well, that's a great cast, even if I say it myself. It's exactly where I want the bait to be. So now it's just a waiting game.
Can you see how the fish are boiling on the surface in front of me? The key to catching a lot of fish when the weather's quite warm in the summer and the autumn months is feeding. It's very, very important. You must keep feeding. And the more regularly you feed, the more you'll get the fish to compete, until in the end they'll come up in the water column and they'll literally be in a frenzy just underneath the surface. And sometimes, as is the case today, that frenzy literally boils over and you'll find fish feeding right under the surface, right in the surface layers. Just watch what happens when I put out 5 or 6 maggots here now. Up they come, they're grabbed instantly as soon as they hit the surface. Now, you don't have to feed lots of bait at a time, but you need to keep the bait going in. And as you do that, you'll draw the fish up through the layers, and it makes them almost suicidally easy to catch. And that's why I'm catching so many fish. Now, I'm fishing with a waggler float, very light shotting down the line, concentrating on feeding and trying to get the fish into a bit of a frenzy. And having done that then, catching fish becomes real child's play. I've caught an awful lot of these orphs so far this morning. I've caught, I don't know, probably more than 100, and I'm not exaggerating. I've had absolutely loads. The bites are virtually instant, look. It really is as easy as that. If you can get those fish to compete, they're a doddle to catch. And I'll give you another tip. Did you notice there how I didn't strike? I just wound down with the reel. When the fish are coming really high in the water, don't waste your time striking. Just tighten up. And if you don't feel anything, leave it and then tighten again. And what you'll find is that eventually you'll hook a fish. And that's the way to catch lots of fish when the weather's warm. Feed little and often, and literally wind into those fish. Now, a lot of people struggle with hooking maggots, and it's really not very difficult. If you look at a maggot, you'll see it's got two little holes there. Some people think they're eyes, but they're not. They're actually breathing tubes. And if you just nick the skin of the maggot, just a little sliver of skin, in front of those two holes, you'll find that the maggot not only stays on the hook, but it's also very lively, and that's very attractive to a fish. If you pierce the maggot and it goes all dull and lifeless, then it ain't going to be very attractive to the fish, but that is a super looking bait. So the routine is you cast, pick up the catty, fire in the maggots, drag the float back into the feed, tighten up, and the fish is on. I didn't even watch the float there. When they're really going, you don't need to. You can literally hook fish by touch. All the float's doing is helping you to get your bait out there and supporting it up in the right zone. And I've caught a lot of these off today, a lot. They're beautiful.
Well, the catfish hunt goes on, and here we are on a glorious morning. I've got two baits out, one on prawn, one on luncheon meat, and the conditions are perfect for a catfish now, so I'm just going to sit in my chair and just take it all in and sit and wait. I've actually caught something, but it's not a catfish, I'm sure. Well, it came straight at me and now it's running a right merry dance. It's going round and round like a small carp. Yeah, it is. Still, I've had a bit of a lean spell just lately, so anything, to be honest. You won't believe this, I'm using 20-pound line for catfish, and this little carp, which is only a couple of pounds, he's tested it to the limit. Well, the catfish net absolutely dwarfs it, but it's best to get the fish in the net rather than try and lift it over this hard bank. Now I'm going to take the hook out and you'll notice just how easily it comes out, and that's because I'm using a barbless hook. Now that's the policy at this fishery, and I can see it's working because that fish has probably been caught a couple of times before, but there's absolutely no sign of mouth damage. All right, let's slip her back. Well, it's nice to see the old rod bending again, but before the day's out, we want it to bend a lot more than that.
Well, I've been fishing for about 10 minutes. Haven't caught anything big yet, but I have caught one of these. Now, this is a different variety of orf. This one's actually a blue orf, which is the cause of many jokes in the bar at Angler's Paradise for reasons which I won't go into. And you can see that it's really a bit like a roach or even a deep-bodied dace with these pale coral-like fins, but when you turn it over, you can see it's got a silver grey back with tiny little black spots. So it's a completely different strain of orf. So I've actually caught two of the orf species now, a regular golden orf and a blue one. Superb. Well, look, I think it's time to move on. I've caught loads of fish in this lake. I've succeeded in catching an orth. I would like to catch a bigger one, I will admit that. And if I see one a little bit later on, I'll go for it, just to show you how magnificent they are. But for now, it's time to move on for another species, and that's a species called the golden tench. Now, essentially, it's the same as an ordinary tench, except, yep, you guessed it, it's gold in colour. Where am I going to find one? Well, that Zig Gregoret, you know, he's got a vivid imagination. Where does he put his golden tench? He puts them in a lake shaped like a tench.